So I'm supposed to pan the crowd. There's everybody.
Hecklers in the window.
And the nice scenery. Okay.
Is it good?
I think so.
Alright. Well, thank you guys all for coming today. I remember I was 13 years old at the time watching ESPN, like I spent for most of my childhood, and there was a show came on called the ESPYs, and it was ESPN's first ever award show for athletes. And as I was watching this, someone came onto the stage, and the crowd was making a real big deal about it. I didn't really know what was going on. It was a man by the name of Jim Valvano, and he was receiving the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. He was the first ever recipient. It was the first ever ESPYs, and the crowd got a standing ovation and made a real big deal. And I didn't know who this guy was, but as he began to speak, I realized he's a pretty special person. He had a pretty special way of connecting with the audience. His stories were real intriguing, and I was just really drawn in as he spoke. And so I listened to his speech, and as I listened, I realized I was just enthralled at what he had to say and his message. After the fact, I went back and kind of researched. It turned out this guy was Jim Valvano. He was a basketball coach for a number of years, and I kind of knew that about him, and that's how he got associated with this award. People called him Jimmy V. That was sort of his nickname. That was what people, like his friends, would call him. That's what he was known. About a year before he gave this speech, in June 15th of 1992, Jim Valvano had been diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer. And so as he got ready to do the speech, that was a pretty significant part of what he was talking about. Jim knew that there wasn't anything that they could do for him. It was too late. They found the disease too late. It had gone too far. It had wrecked his body too much. And so Jim knew that his battle with cancer was coming to a close. And so his whole purpose of this speech was not to save his life, but it was to try to help save other lives. He had always been a very tenacious person, a fighting spirit as a coach. His teams were known for their never give up attitude, and so Jim Valvano gave that to his teams, and he brought that into his fight against cancer. He, over the years, had developed a lot of connections. He was a very well-known and well-liked broadcaster and coach, and so he had begun to know some of the people at ESPN, and through those connections, he was able to meet with the president of ESPN. According to the UN National Institute of Health, 6 months after being diagnosed with cancer, Jim Valvano met with Steve Bornstein, the president of ESPN, and they began to work out the framework for what would later become the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research, and that's what he was speaking about in this speech. His hope wasn't that they would have medicine to help people that had cancer. Jim Valvano's goal was to help research and to help find a cure for cancer. He wanted to invest and find a way to raise as much money as possible so that people could no longer have to suffer the way that he was suffering and the way that his family had to watch him suffer. The foundation lives by one motto. It's a motto that came from Jimmy V, and that's don't give up, don't ever give up. And if you've ever known anyone that's dealing with cancer, that's the attitude that you have to have, and that's the attitude that Jimmy V portrayed. Jim Valvano was not able to win his battle with cancer, but his foundation has had an impact for years to come. According to his dream, scientists are now spending millions and millions of dollars raised by his foundation in an attempt to find a cure. According to his foundation, the V Foundation released statistics that since 1993, the founding of the V Foundation, they've raised more than $80 million and are now fully funded. And all that money is going directly into research. Scientists are working in over 38 different states to try to find a cure for cancer. As Jim closed his speech in 1993, he used a very powerful statement, a statement that I still remember to this day. It says, cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot take my mind, and it cannot take my heart, and it cannot take my soul. And he said those things are going to carry on forever, and that's what Jim wanted. He wanted something that could carry on. He knew that his time was coming to a close. 55 days after he spoke those words, cancer took away all his physical abilities, but it didn't take away his dream. And so because of the hard work and the vision that he has a foundation that is fighting hard, trying to help people not have to go down the same road that he went down. So even though Jimmy V can't be with us, fortunately, because of the work that he did, his legacy does live on, even though he doesn't. So thank you.
Yay.